The views and opinions expressed on this program do not reflect the company, owners, management, staff, clients, or partners.
I smile not because it's funny, but because I just got this text about the BPSU, but we'll get to that. I'm not BPSU. What's this? The BUT. Sorry. Totally different letters, but seems like drama.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, seems like drama over there. Audits and this and that. And maybe we'll have to reach out to the president, I believe is Nishanti, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's Nishanti. So maybe we'll have to find out if she's willing to speak to us to see what's happening over there. And I know the RG had reported some stuff last week, but anyway, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Daily Hour. It's October 21st. Daily Hour is brought to you by Medical House One Communications and Lindo's. I'm Jamal Hartman, along with Michaela Ian, and Leanna Lambert will be with us in a bit to bring you the latest in her news break, brought to you by Peoples. It's Thursday, one day closer to the weekend. Are you ready for it, Michaela?
I am so ready. Well, I lie, because the weekend means a break from school next week.
It's a holiday.
And I don't understand why there's a break from school, because they just started school. But whatever.
So, you know, in the U.S., they have snow days. Are you wishing they had the snow day approach to this? Like, they have to make it up?
I mean, that would be nice. Because, I mean, there is a whole 2-week break coming up for Christmas. Just keep the kids. Just keep them.
She's not ready for the break.
I pay a lot of money. Keep the kids. No, I'm joking. The teachers need a break. It's been hectic. It's been, so
yeah.
I'll work around.
Yep. I remember those days in school. You couldn't wait to that first break. But yeah, I guess the teachers do deserve it. They've had a hard time with this online stuff. But yeah, good morning, everyone, and thanks for making us part of your daily routine. Another good one today, as former Bermudian international Khano Smith is stopping by, talking about his career as a player and now his transition into coaching. The Daily Play is a name that plays another somewhat easy one, but let's see if the audience has the opportunity to beat Michaela to it. It's not easy. It's not easy. And I think this one, here's what's crazy. When I say it's an easy one, the audience never seems to agree. But when I think it's a difficult one, oh, that was easy. But yet none of them guessed it. So
I guess it's, subjective.
Absolutely it is. Absolutely it is.
I mean, but I'm 2 for 2 this week. So
what was yesterday? The song.
I wanna love you.
Yeah, she got that player. Hold on. Yesterday she got it. She literally finished. I didn't get to finish it yesterday.
You don't understand. That is like there's a lot of Bob Marley songs that I love. Like Redemption is probably up there as well. But I Want to Love You, like, woo, that's my song.
That was her jam, folks. That was her jam. And then what was Tuesday
It was about Muhammad Ali, and I got Vietnam, but I didn't get the year.
Yeah, the year was difficult, but someone did get it. But yeah, she got Vietnam like literally without a breath. So you know what you're up against, folks. Basically, when we do this, you know what you're up against. If you want to win, you have to come with your A game. No chance to Google or pick up a book or a friend or none of that stuff. Right?
I mean, they should have seen 2 weeks ago when I got all 5 states around Massachusetts. They should have then admitted my brilliance.
Yeah, she did that. She did that. Oh, folks, in fairness, she did have a one-up on majority of the audience. She did live in Massachusetts. She did live there.
Yes.
All right, folks, let's move along. So we have a question today. Obviously, don't go anywhere. A good conversation. And if you have any young children in your family or know someone who's aspiring to get, they love football and they want to go off to a prep school or they want to go to an academy, any of that stuff, make sure this episode is one that they tune into, because Khano has an interesting story. There are so many different paths with football these days. I remember last week we have to make sure we ask him his opinion on Friday's conversation where we discussed that player that scored 16 goals in the first half and so on, because I'm sure he would have an interesting opinion.
Likely.
In that field. But I think, as I said last week, I believe that we're living in a time where young people should be taught to use football to their advantage. Don't let football use them. So I'm really excited about the conversation and what Khano has to share. So like I said, if you know anyone who, has aspirations when it comes to football, have them tune in to this episode. But before we get to that, we have a question. And the question's on the back of an article that was shared yesterday about the Minister Wayne Furbett. So I know all of you heard Minister Wayne Furbett's names and you probably sigh like, oh boy, him again, whatever. He brings that energy. But the title in the Gazette articles basically says government could face legal action over U.S. shipping deal. And the story goes on, and this is according to the RG folks. Basically, lawyers for island-based importer Mailboxes Unlimited have written to Wayne Furbett, the minister for the Cabinet Office, asking why the Bermuda Post Office did not send out a request for proposal to local companies to set up an online platform. The government eventually awarded the contract to Florida-based shipper MyUS. The service is expected to be up and running this month. However, Peter Sanderson, who is representing them, is questioned whether MyUS deal breached government procedures. Mr. Sanderson of Beesmont wrote, our client has various concerns with the recent announcements regarding the My Bermuda Post shopping platform. And some of those are basically the decision to partner with MyUS. They have been in breach of procedural fairness and or legitimate expectation of the code of practice for project management and procurement. Do I need to go further, or does that give a good background, Michaela?
I feel like that sums it up, but I just also want to add in, not only did they write to the minister to ask for this information, they also, if I'm understanding correctly, based on what I read, filed a PATI request. And we just had Gitanjali Gutierrez, the information commissioner, on, who talked about how simple it is to get the information that you desire.
Our good friend Patty, folks. Yes. And so this is going to be interesting, but I guess the question for the audience, and we had it up, got some good responses on Instagram. The question was basically, should Bermudian companies receive preferential treatment for government contracts? Unfortunately, I didn't have enough time to see what other jurisdictions same size as Bermuda do, if they do these kinds of things. But I think this is a necessary conversation, whether or not there should be preferential treatment given to Bermudian companies. I know in the article it states Minister Wayne Furbett said that no Bermudian companies had U.S. addresses set up, and then apparently later on in the article said that's pretty much not true, if I remember correctly. Michaela's nodding her head, eyes up. I don't know.
No, it's just very interesting to me because 2 weeks ago, when all of this first came up, the Postmaster, is it Postmaster General? Is that his name? That's the title? I think his name is Sam Brangman.
Yeah.
So he said that in 2018, they put out a request for information and only 2 companies wrote in. So I don't understand how you can then take requests for information and then decide 3 years later, okay, no one on island can do what we need. From something 3 years ago. A request for information is not the same as a request for proposal.
Say it again.
It is not the same. Request for information is not the same as request for proposal. So to me, when I heard that they didn't even bother to put out an RFP to the local shipping companies, that's like a slap in the face. That's like, oh, we don't care what you guys do. We're just going to partner with this U.S. company. So regarding the question, should Bermudian companies receive preferential treatment for government contracts? I believe that if there's a government contract and it's worth a certain amount of money, an RFP must go out so that Bermudian companies can have an opportunity to get the contract, to get the business. And if a Bermudian company can absolutely do what is required, why on earth would you need a US company? That means dollars are going overseas. You know what I mean? And I mean, I know people have issues with mailboxes. I've used mailboxes literally since June 2007 when I moved back to Bermuda after university because I needed to continue to shop online. That's what I did before I moved back home and I needed it. These days, I don't use them so much because I buy a lot locally, but they've been excellent for the last 14 years that I've been using them. And so to say that they don't have US warehouse, Mailboxes has a US warehouse and address, so does Zipax.
Well, I thought that was the whole purpose of using mailboxes. That's why I found it odd. You know, that's why I found it odd.
Exactly. I mean, it's changed over the years because they've moved warehouses, but like, what on earth are you talking about? They don't have US addresses.
Yeah. I'm with you, Michaela. And folks, the question, should Bermudian companies receive preferential treatment for government contracts? Some of the responses we got on Instagram are, if Bermudians offer the best value, then yes. Interesting. Because, you know, I believe it was Sherry J used to always say, why does it always have to come down when why is it only when Bermudians are in the conversation, we start talking about qualifications or best value? You know what I'm saying?
I agree 100%. And it goes back to that police commissioner conversation we had the other day. Like, of course, if a Bermudian company can do the job, hire the Bermudian company. You're helping a Bermudian to pay their mortgage. You're helping a Bermudian to pay their rent, to feed their kids, etc. Like, I don't understand how no one thought this wasn't a good idea to work with my US. Like, why?
Yeah. Another response we got pretty much is what you said, Michaela. Yes, buy Bermuda, keep the money circulating at home. Well, if there's one group of people who should want the money circulating in our economy, it would be who? The government, right?
Hello. You would think.
I'm not quite understanding.
Maybe the post office is banking on people buying all these Florida Duffy stamps to raise revenue. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
What are your thoughts, live audience? What are your thoughts? Should Bermudian companies receive preferential treatment for government contracts? That would be something. And honestly, it would not surprise me if that's their thinking. Another comment we got to the question was, if they are qualified to do the job and can do the job. Again, goes back to it. Like, look, I guess, folks, maybe we should clarify. Obviously, there's never enough space to put an entire question. But when we're asking, should Bermudian companies receive preferential treatment for government contracts, we're literally speaking about qualified. We don't have to.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? We don't have to put qualified or, you know?
We're not sitting here saying Michaela and Jamal Shipping Company, who just started yesterday, getting a contract because we know we ain't fair. But no, this is not what we're talking about.
No, we're
at
talking
all
about qualified companies. Like, again, you know, let's talk about some of the things that are detrimental. And let's start with the economy. Once the money starts flowing out, that's bad for Bermuda. And I see the government's looking at this as a win and income for them, right? But how much? And at what expense?
Exactly. And it's like, are you trying to put the other companies out of business?
Yeah.
Like what are we doing here?
So, something's not right with that. But I want, we got... basically, the other answers that we've got is yes, Bermudians should get preferential treatment. What I will say to that is, at the end of the day, in a fair process, we shouldn't know who or who isn't a Bermudian in a fair process. However, with the state of our economy, I do believe that Bermudian companies would be better for the country if they got preferential treatment.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, there are certain things that Bermudian companies have never had experience in, you know? So, you know, there are different areas where, you know, maybe Bermudian companies just haven't done that. So you've got to bring in people or hire people to do these sort of things. And that's totally fine. But when you have shipping companies on island that have US addresses and warehouses in the US, and you decide to partner with a US company and not even put it out for tender, that's a problem.
Yeah. And I think that right there is where the government's going to have a hard time. We'll be following this very closely. Again, audience, your thoughts: should Bermudian companies receive preferential treatment for government contracts? Yes or no? So your answer basically is yes, Kills.
My answer is yes. There should be an RFP process, and Bermudian companies, qualified Bermudian companies, because those are the companies that are applying, obviously should get preferential treatment because that money stays local and because they can do the job. End of story.
I agree with you, but here's the thing, and I'm sure you're going to agree with this. Back in the late 2000s, there was a lot of talk, and you were a reporter then, so you know this, about kickbacks, friends and family.
Yes.
And could it be, and I'm not making excuses for the PLP folks, stick with me. Could it be that the PLP government are saying, well, you know what? When we gave them to locals, you all thought that it was under the table, it was corruption, this and that. Could it be that they're saying, okay, we put a request for information out, no one applied, only 2 companies, and then we didn't move forward with the RFP years later because we felt that the best option would be overseas? Could this be a case of that, or am I stretching it?
I think you're stretching it. I think you're stretching it. I mean, to flat out come out and say no Bermudian shipping companies have U.S. addresses or warehouses. I'm pretty sure that's what was said. Don't quote me. That's wild. I have a mailbox's address. I've had one since 2007. 121 Main Street, Lebanon, New Jersey. Like, that's where I ship my stuff to. Like,
give us the mailbox number now.
Listen. But my whole point is that it's ridiculous. And if you didn't get the information that you required in 2018, why, when this idea came up? Because this was not an idea that came up a month ago and was created and rolled out. This is not what happened. Like, these things take a while. So why then did you not go, let's try this again?
Yeah. No, I hear you. And I think that space and time and using that RFI process example is bad. I don't think it's going to work. Sam Cat Plays says kickbacks are real sad to say. It's obvious to let Bermudian companies participate. So what is so hard? And I think it's kind of in there. And again, it's probably a stretch on my behalf because at no time did the government use that. And if anybody from the government's watching the show or listening right now, they'll probably say, oh, we can use that as an argument. Nah, Michaela's already shut that down, folks.
No,
seriously, you probably should have thought of that first, but no, it's probably not a good enough excuse. Nikki Michelle and Michelle White Kills.
That 2018, Bermudians for us, as long as there is a Bermudian component, I'm okay. But as long as there's a Bermudian component, I'm okay with it. The money stays within our economy in some way. Some government RFPs have gone out requesting that the foreign company must pair with a local partner. I get that, but I mean, I just feel like a lot of times the local company can do the job.
Yeah.
You know, that 2018 question is concerning. It tells me that there has been a plan for a new mail service all this time. Like, I don't know, that's IBL. I don't know what that says.
Yeah.
It's being given to international business. Train Bermudians. Where was the commitment to let Bermudian businesses know what the post office needed and allow growth to meet that end? I mean, at least meet with the shipping companies, have some sort of town hall with them.
Yeah. Going back to Nikki Michelle, what you were touching on, about the RFPs that have gone out requesting foreign companies to partner with locals. Is that still a thing?
It is.
It is. You don't like that idea?
I'm not mad at it, considering, like I said, there are certain things that Bermudian companies haven't done. And so if you partner, like, for instance, Nuri talked about this on the show about how there used to be, big time foreign photographers who would come in and they would partner with the local. And then he decided, actually, I want to be the main photographer. And that's what he kind of built his business around. So I get that, but he wouldn't have been able to do that had he not worked with that and seen what was happening and seen how he could then be that quote unquote foreign photographer.
Yeah, I got you. Renee Sherilyn Simmons says it shouldn't even be a debate. It's obvious they should seek out Bermudian companies first. Well, I know that there was a tourism thing where there was a law, right? And the law basically stated, I don't know if it still exists, I think the OBA may have done away with it, but like, so I saw when I worked in tourism for Bermuda, I actually did corporate and incentives. So my responsibility was trying to get companies to bring their top salespeople or meetings to Bermuda. During that, they would probably want to bring their own entertainment. They may want to bring a comedian like Martin Lawrence or Tiffany Haddish. They would need a work permit for that. It was a lot of things you had to go through, hoops and whatnot. So the law at the time, I think they had to work with a Bermudian. So they would had to bring the Donjo on or something. Even if it was a musician, they had to bring a Bermudian musician to work with them. I remember when they, I believe they got rid of it. I'm not sure if it's back. I think.
I vaguely remember that, which I mean, I get it in theory, but in reality, if people are spending all this money to come here and they're like putting heads in beds and all of that thing that we say and spending all this money and they want John Legend to play at their event, why then do we need a Bermudian to open for John Legend? I don't know. Maybe my thinking is wrong here, but I never understood it.
It should be case by case basis.
Yeah, it shouldn't be a thing.
Because it's like, from being in the tourism space, I actually kind of think of it from your perspective. Like, these companies have spent a lot of money to come here. They're putting heads in beds, as you said. They're spending in the economy while they're here.
Yeah.
I mean, if they want John Legend, why are they going to pay for Jamel? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if I could sing, I mean, but
right.
I get it. I get it. So I think it's case by case basis, but it's an interesting conversation, folks. It's very interesting to see how these things go. I think one of the consistent discussions in Bermuda over time has been almost like putting Bermudians against non-Bermudians in so many spaces, with jobs, with businesses, with contracts. It's always there. And I feel for Bermudians. I really do, because honestly, this shouldn't be a question.
No, it shouldn't. And I mean, back to the point about partnering, like I remember with America's Cup, I can't remember the name of the company. I think it was Icon. I think it was a UK based company. And they were printing and installing those huge America's Cup decals, banners, all that kind of stuff. And America's Cup ended up also working with Bermuda Blue, but it was outside of the scope. If my memory serves me correctly, it was outside of the scope. They'd never done anything like that. But as they worked with that company, they were able to get the knowledge, the information, the know-how. So I get where it works. However, if there's a Bermudian company and they can do it, and then why do we need the partnership?
Indeed. Let's see what Leanna thinks on this. Switzerland, welcome to the show. What's happening, sister?
Everything is great. Another interesting conversation as usual.
So you've got to let us know, though. You've got to tell us. Do you think Bermudian businesses and organizations should get preferential treatment with government contracts?
Of course, it is always a consultation process, always. And I feel as if, again, still staying in the middle. However, for our people here at home, we should always be given the opportunity, a chance to show that we are capable of meeting criteria, requirements, all of the etc., to make sure that we are moving forward, but in the best interest of the country.
Yeah, indeed. I think we're all in agreement with that. Hopefully, the contract is not one of those that can't be negotiated to include a Bermudian company or some way. But hey, this is government. Lee, over to you.
Good morning to everyone tuned in with us today. I hope everyone is having a great start to their day. I'm Leanna Lambert, and it's time for the Daily Hour News Break, brought to you by People's Pharmacy. Here's what's going on in today's top stories. Police have arrested a 36-year-old man in connection with the aggravated burglary and sexual assault at a Smith's residence, in which we reported yesterday. Now, investigations continue into the incident, and police are keen on speaking with anyone who had seen two men in the area of Neptune Hill, Harrington Hundreds, or South Road in Smiths and Summer Haven between 11 a.m. and 12 p.m. Now, they say that the first suspect was said to be Black, about 6 feet tall, of skinny build, and wearing a black rain suit, while the second suspect was also said to be black, about 5 feet 8 inches tall, and had a mustache. Anyone with information is asked to contact Detective Chief Inspector Sharon Joseph or the main police telephone line or the Confidential and Crime Stoppers hotline. Meanwhile, 31 schools are back in the classroom this week after a rigorous process, but students and teachers have returned to their regular scheduled programs. Now, following risk assessments by the Ministry of Health, one school, West Pembroke Primary, was potentially exposed to the coronavirus last week. However, a health ministry spokesperson said that affected pupils and their families were notified of next steps. And it's down to 4 teams as Ireland and Bermuda have both withdrawn their presence at this year's World Rugby Classic, which we know will be the island's first vaccinated-only event, which is scheduled to take place next month. Now, the Classic, which was canceled last year due to the pandemic, will return to play. However, following Ireland's withdrawal, organizers said it could not go ahead with odd numbers, resulting in Bermuda also bowing out. The remaining include Canada, Lions Legends, Italy, and France. Taking a look at today's weather, we have a high near 79 and a low near 72 degrees. We'll see another sunshine-filled day with very light wind. Now, high pressure will ensure fine and dry weather over the island through Friday as the wind continues to ease. However, developing low pressure to our south shall send increasing cloud, wind, and humidity accompanied by wet periods as we make the turn into Saturday. That's all for the Daily Hour News Break brought to you by People's Pharmacy. But before we leave you, here's a little helpful tip from your favorite community pharmacist. Did you know that sleeping on your left side can reduce heartburn? Well, left side sleeping keeps food and acid from entering the esophagus, that tube that connects the throat to the stomach, if you wanted to know. Talk to your trusted People's Pharmacist about other common and easy fixes. Now let's head back to Jamel and Michaela in the studio for today's Daily Focus.
All right, so I'm going to try, you know what I'm going to say. I'm going to try this sleeping on my left side so that, you said it's better for what?
It's actually better to help reduce heartburn and, keeps food and acid from entering the esophagus. So to be quite honest, I actually knew this. I tested it out maybe last year sometime, and I have to sleep on my left side now. I can't actually sleep on my right side anymore. Weird.
What side do you sleep on, Kels?
I sleep on my left side. Yeah. I thought I slept on my right, but then I'm like, wait a second, no, I sleep on my left side.
See, a subconscious.
Good information there. Good information. And folks, don't forget, thanks again to Liana for that and People's Pharmacy for including those tips for us daily. People like me need them, trust me. Lee, we'll see you tomorrow. Have a great day.
See you guys tomorrow.
Bye, Lee.
All right, so we've got a good conversation coming up. Khano Smith, former Bermudian international player for the New England Revolution, now coaching down in Birmingham, Alabama. One of my favorite states. Don't hate, folks. Don't hate. I hear you out there. Alabama's a good place. You've been to Alabama before, right, Kels?
Of course.
Huntsville. You've been down by
Been to Huntsville. That's where I met my husband.
All right. See, there you go. There you go. This is what I'm talking about. Huntsville's a good place, folks. Don't hate, appreciate. But we're going to be talking to Khano Smith right after this, so do not go anywhere.
John Barrett & Son, Bermuda's leading distributor of fine beverages, have brought us something fresh and exciting this month. Mystic Juices, skillfully blended for captivating flavor and loaded with nutritional value. Mystic Juices not only taste remarkably good, one serving will supply an abundance of vitamins A and C, more than the certified measure needed to meet your daily requirements. This month we're featuring delicious and nutritious Mystic Juices in an enticing range of flavors in 64 and 16-ounce bottles. Lindo's, why go anyplace else?
Mom's celebrating her 70th birthday next month. Have you noticed her age is catching up with her?
Yeah. Plus, she's having a hard time getting up and around like she's used to. I would sure hate to see her fall.
At Medical House Limited, we can help make life situations easier. We have electric beds, motorized scooters, bath stools, walkers, you name it.
Mom's been real good to us. We'll get her birthday and Christmas gifts from Medical House.
Medical House has relocated next to the Dendy Town Field, number 6 Bakery Lane, Pembroke. Telephone 292-3622.
All right, welcome back to the big show. She's Michaela and I'm Jamal Hartman. It's the Daily Hour brought to you by Medical House, One Communications, Lindos, and our friends over at People's Pharmacy. So I want to do something because Michaela probably couldn't tell me if I've done it since we've been doing the show, but I always forget to do this. And I sometimes look, and there's a lot of you listening on bcgradio.com. So I just want to give a huge shout out to you because I know you probably can't communicate with us like others who are watching on social media. So props to you. Thanks again for listening to us, even if you can't watch us. I know some jobs you go in, you can't have video up, but you definitely have the earphones in. Do you work with earphones on, Michaela?
No, I work at home.
Okay.
Well, it depends. If I'm doing calls, then yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just in case somebody says something that, nobody else needs to hear, because, I have my windows open and stuff, and you just never know.
Yeah. I mean, when I work around people I don't have earphones on, but if it's like a big office and they share, I probably would have them on. But no, thank you to those who are tuned in, listening on this station, and for all those who continue to watch us on YouTube and Facebook, we appreciate your contribution. Without further ado, let's bring in our guest for the day. We have Khano Smith, former Bermudian international, Dendy Town Hornet in the house. Welcome to the show, Khano. What's up, bro?
Morning. How you both doing?
Hi,
Michaela,
Khano.
long time no see.
I was about to say long time.
I'm gonna ask this question. Kales, you taller than Khano?
I am not taller than Khano. Khano's got some inches on me, definitely.
Nah, Kales is always the tallest person in the conversation, man. But look,
not today.
No, and I welcome it.
Look, man, honestly, thank you for doing this. Obviously, I reached out to you months ago. We wanted to have you on, but thanks for finally taking up. But first, let me say this, folks. I always thank the audience. We always thank the audience for waking up and jumping with us. Khano, you were up like 5 something because you're Alabama Central Time, right?
Yeah. So
I was thinking that when I put my kettle on this morning, I was like, wait a second, Khano, Alabama's 2 hours behind. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, 5:45 in the broadcast room. I'm all right.
we appreciate that. Honestly, we appreciate it. It's early. The only person we've had tell us about our time on air was Dr. Ewart Brown. He said, look, let's do this later sometime. We appreciate everyone who does it. But let's just jump right into the conversation. You spent the majority of your playing professional career in the U.S., in the MLS in particular, and your best years arguably were with the New England Revolution, which I'm grateful I had the opportunity to support you at a lot of those games. When you look back at your career, though, what were some of the highlights of your playing career?
Some of the highlights for sure were going to 3 MLS Cup finals. Unfortunately, we lost all 3 years in a row, but I still think it was an incredible achievement for our team and for our club. And it's, some of those relationships with those guys that I played with a lifelong, so we shared some really cool experiences. So that's definitely probably one. And then, my first goal with the club, and then a lot of the international appearances, honestly. Like I remember my first World Cup appearance with Bermuda, and we played Montserrat, who weren't very good, but we ended up killing them. I think it was 13-0 at home and 7 over there. But it was good, because you got to experience it with guys that you grew up with. And, we had a really good coach, Kenny Thompson. He's obviously still a mentor to me. So it's built lifelong experiences through football, which is pretty, and friendships, which is pretty fun.
Indeed.
Absolutely. So talk to us about how you transitioned from playing football to coaching.
Yeah, so I was living in Boston at the time, and I got released by the Revolution. So I was kind of thinking my time in MLS was pretty much done, Obviously still wanted to get back in, but then I tried to go to a couple of lower league teams, and it didn't really work out. So I was like, I'm just not going to be that guy that's going to run around the U.S. chasing a dream and going from city to city and playing at different teams in the lower league. So I just didn't want to do that. So I just reached out to the youth development department and the academy in New England. I was like, look, I think I want to get into coaching. Do you guys mind if I start start doing some stuff with you guys. And they're like, yeah, absolutely. So I started doing, like camps and stuff with, they call them player development programs where you're literally working with kids, could be from anywhere from 5 to 16. And then I worked my way up to the actually development academies where the kids are on their pathway to becoming pros inside the organization. So that's kind of where I started. And that's where it leads me to today. So in Birmingham.
Awesome. So talk to us about the highs and the lows of coaching, because it must be different from the highs and lows of playing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the highs is obviously I guess for me, the reason why I really coach now and what drives me is that I kind of want to be that person that guys look back on and, help them reach their goals. That's ultimately what my job is, to help these players. It's not about me. It's about players reaching their goals and developing and becoming the people they want to be and the players they want to be. So that, I think that's really cool. The really good part about it is that you get to help people and see people reach their goals. And that's the highs for me, like obviously watching games and being part of it. You can't control it. So that's the lows, is that once they step into the field, I can't control what they do. And you can just only be there to support them. So the lows are that, when you do lose and when the results don't go your way, you kind of have to be the one that's always the even keel person and not get emotional, but not get too up or down. So I try to stay even keel, and friends watch me, are like, you don't show no emotion on the sideline. And I think people want me to show more, but I'm like, no, I just have to stay. I have to stay in the middle. When we score, I'm like, I expect us to score because that's what we worked on all week in training. And when we don't score, I obviously can't get too upset because players see that, and they kind of feed off the coaching staff at times. So I just try to stay right in the middle, and don't celebrate and don't get too upset when things don't go our way.
Absolutely. So for someone who has been playing football and they want to transition into coaching, what advice do you have?
I'll give the same advice that my coach told me, Steve Nicol told me. He's like, don't be too big to coach anyone at any level. So it's a lot of coaches you see coaching professional players and coaching at the highest level, for guys like Frank Lampard, for example, who went straight from playing straight to managing a high level club like Chelsea, which is incredibly hard to do. But it's also incredibly hard to coach 5-year-olds like that. Could you imagine 15 5-year-olds running around and not being able to control that? So it takes a skill to control those people as well, because at the end of the day, they're humans as well, and to get them to do what you want to do and to be fun for them, it's I think it's a really important skill to have a wide range of skill set and coach people of different levels, because it can only help you. So it can obviously develops you as a coach and a person. So wherever you can get in and do a session and coach anyone, whether it's boys, girls, old, young, I think it's really good practice. And it's just the hours on the grass, it's just like any job. You need to put in the work hours to get to I guess 10,000 hours is what they say is when you master something. So anything to get to your 10,000 hours of practicing your skill, do it.
Absolutely. So as a coach in the U.S., what are you looking for from young Bermudians who have chosen or are looking to choose the U.S. route for football?
Yeah, really good question. So that was obviously my pathway, So I kind of went to quick story on me is I went to boarding school in Maine, and then I went to college in North Carolina, and then I came home for a year, and then got signed by the Revolution after playing against them. So, I think obviously the educational component is really important if you're going the U.S. route, and you obviously have to get good grades, and C's and B's and D's like I had are not good enough. Coaches are looking for you need to do really good and be a good student, which is not hard to do. I probably just didn't try hard enough at that time, but I think that's definitely a part of it. It's the educational piece, and then obviously the higher you go, and the advice I give to kids all the time is that everyone has talent once you reach a certain age level, right? So when you reach 16, everyone has the ability to shoot a ball, pass a ball, do this, head it, all of that. But being a good teammate is what's going to set you apart. So, a lot of people kind of show their true colors as teammates when things are not going their way. And that's when you find out about people. And as a coach, do you want the guy that's going to be sitting on your bench that's sulking and dragging people down with them? Do you want that guy on your bench? So I want the guy that's going to be a good teammate and support his teammate when things are not going his way, his or her way. So I think that's a really critical piece. And I think us coming from Bermuda, especially in sports, it's to be the best in Bermuda is not very difficult. I think if you work harder than everyone else there, I think it's pretty easy to get to the top. Like you look at me, I was never the most skillful guy of my generation, but I think my desire and work ethic to play at the next level is what separated me from a bunch of people. So I think that as well. So to have, and this is not knocking the Bermudian work ethic, but in sports, I think it's obviously, like I said, to be the best is really easy. But it's also millions of people with our skill level around the world. So if you don't work as hard as they do, you're going to find it very difficult to make it to the next level. So that would be my advice for that.
Absolutely. Would you be so kind to give us your thoughts on the European UK route versus the US route?
Yeah, and again, it's a really interesting topic for young Bermudians. And listen, I think everyone needs to find their own pathway. And mine obviously was chosen for me because my mom said, "Listen, you're going to border school in the U.S. and this is what I paid for, so this is where you're going." So I think it's obviously down to parents and what they're able to pay and where they want to send their kid. If parents want to move to the UK, I think it's an excellent route as well. But the US route for me obviously worked for me. And I think more Bermudians need to explore that route because I think the MLS is at a point where it's still growing and developing. And I was lucky enough to play 6 years in MLS and experience what I experienced. So I think more people could definitely try that route. You look at Zico Lewis, he obviously was drafted by Red Bulls. You had Reggie Lamb that played for Toronto FC. You had Freddie Hall that played for Toronto FC as well. So I wish it would be more. From my perspective, I wish more Bermudians will go that route. And I think we do have the players with the ability, but then again, once you get in that space, you have to start separating yourselves from the domestic players, because nowadays you look at the US route, you're only allowed most MLS routes teams and USL teams, for that matter, are allowed 7 foreign players. So as a foreigner, you have to go there and be better than essentially 7 other people because you're not competing for 24 spots, you're competing for 7. So luckily for me, I was able to get my green card after 1 year, and I think that's what helped me to play the 6 years that I did play. Because if you're a foreign player, and it happens in our environment, in our world as well, that if you are not contributing what you should be contributing, then you're probably going to get moved on because we need those spots.
Yeah.
You know? So the UK route obviously doesn't have those same restrictions because all Bermudians can get the passport and become, in England, they don't have international spots is what they're called anyway. So you can see, you can sign as many as you want as long as you get the work permit.
Right.
But I think it's very interesting, both routes. So, obviously the UK route is, you look at the guys that are setting the precedent. You have Niki and you have Reggie that's run over there as well. You have Dale Eve over now. You have a bunch of guys at the lower leagues. And I think Niki Wells is special. And he's got extremely high worth ethic and a really good pro and a really good teammate. Like you see it when he doesn't play. He never complains. He's never on social media doing this, doing that. He just puts his head down and does his job. So I think both routes are extremely feasible for young Bermudian players. And it's, at the end of the day, is what you want to do. And I think a lot of people see the glitz and glamour of what Niki Wells, what you see on TV, but that's not what he had to go through. He had to suffer a bunch of times. He was at Exeter, I think, and Carlisle in League One, and he got let go, and he had to keep battling. Then he ended up at Bradford, and then all of a sudden he's jumped off and to become this, definitely a championship level, really good player at the championship. So, but I'm sure he had a lot of dark days, and he probably could have quit, and he probably could have gave up, and he didn't. So it's really nice to see his story and to see where he is and what he's become. So it's, both ways. You got to be willing to dig your heels in and fight. It's never going to be easy because at the end of the day, you're looked at as a foreigner. So as a foreigner, you have to be better than what is there. Yeah. What's the point? What's the point you're bringing? What's the point you're bringing? So either pathway is really good, and I don't think one's easier than the other. But from my perspective, I would love to see more Bermudians in the MLS because it's only been 3 of us that's played in actual MLS matches. John Barry got drafted and unfortunately never played in a match. Kevin Richards, kind of same route. So I would love to see more Bermudian guys get the opportunity to play in MLS because that just really, really makes me proud be the first one to play in the actual match. So
I just want to go back to something you said. Sorry, Kales. It really hits home, and in so many different respects, not just football. But going back to Nikki Wells, you said something, and I want to take, if nothing else from this show, take what Khano said here. Understand the assignment. Khano, you done it very well. Nikki Wells understood the assignment very well. What do I mean by that? You just said, look, he got let go. He worked hard. He don't really get into all this social media stuff. I don't know if he does or if you do. And I'm sure this is Michaela's space, not mine, but it's almost as if you guys kind of have social media people assisting you. That's how like clean your stuff is. Like, you know what I'm saying? And it's so easy for players that are aspiring to go places. And this is not just football. This is anything in life right now. Yesterday's conversation, Michaela, we spoke about things that can come back to haunt you, like the John Gruden emails and stuff like that. Like, this plays a part in whatever route you're going to take. This plays a part in a career. So that part right there is, to me, is so important what you just said. We're talking about young guys from St. John's Road. I don't remember the number, so don't come at me, Dandy Town fans. But this is Dandy Town Hornets, like guys that knew the assignment. And it says so much about like how grounded you guys have been throughout the process to get where you wanted to go, the desire and everything. Kale, sorry about that. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I really like that answer. And I like that you talked about the education aspect as well, because like my oldest son, he's 13. In his mind, he's going to be a pro. And I have to say to him, like, you're 13, you would have already been in an academy by now. Like, we have to be realistic. So what I want for him is, let's get you in a boarding school, then let's get a scholarship for university, and then probably MLS after that, you know. And in his mind, I need to go to Europe. So I'm going to have him watch this because it's just the education component is still very, very important.
Yeah, and I think, Kayla, I think that's a really good point as well. And I want to drive that one home. Like a lot of people see Nikki Wells playing at Bristol City, playing in front of 25,000 people and scoring and getting the winner in the 90th minute against his old team QPR, but they don't see the stuff that he had to go through to get there. You know, it's like sometimes in League One, I was at Lincoln and we were in League Two at the time. Like, you had to take your own gear home and wash it. You know, it's not always it's not always the glitz and glamour that you see at the top level, that what Nikki goes through. Now that he has people that's going to wash his clothes and probably clean his boots for him too, but it's not always that. So you have to be willing to go through that stuff to get to what he's at. And I think a lot of people especially see the English route and they see, you know, the heated pitches at Chelsea and at Manchester United, 75,000 people, but it's not always like that in the lower leagues. League One and the conference side, sometimes if it snows and it's cold, like, you're not training today because the training pitches don't have heated underground soil, you know. So it's you have to be willing to go through the bad moments to get to the good moments. So I think a lot of people see what Nikki projects and what's projected of him, and you're going straight to that, and it's not that. So I think that's what a lot of Bermudian athletes need to see, and especially, you know, you look at Flora now and what she's going through and being at the top, and everybody sees on the podium, but that's not all she goes through. She's probably been through a lot to get there. Definitely been through a lot to get there. So obviously, we'll give a shout out to her too, because that was really inspirational, what she did, and, you know, gave me goosebumps, and it made me really proud to be from Bermuda.
I wanted to ask you your thoughts because everything you're saying, Khano, and I'm just going to throw myself in there. I had the opportunity to learn from not just you, but when I was living in Boston, being around some of the players and you, and just understanding the thought processes. And Michaela, to your point, whether it was Darius, I'll use him as the example, Darius Barnes. These guys always had education at the front of their mind. Like, remember, it was a time we were hanging out at Darius Barnes' house, and what's the guy name? He played for the Seattle team, not Mariners, Seahawks, and he was controversial. Richard Sherman.
Oh, I was about to say, yes, I'm seeing him, and I couldn't remember the name.
And we were all just sitting around and say, and I was listening to the conversation and observing, and we're like, but he's a smart guy. I think, you know, and not to go into too many details, but it helped me understand, look, these are not just some jocks who kick a ball.
No.
These are guys who care about the community. These are people who like know football is not forever and they want to have longevity afterwards. And when we speak about Khano's story about how he's coaching now, and I believe Darius is working in MLS and other players are finding other ways to build. And I said last week when we were talking about it, and Kales, do you mind if I ask me a question about 16 goals? We were speaking about it last week, and I said the goal when I was coaching in Bermuda was not to prepare any of these players to win an FA Cup for Noah Village. It was so that they can find a way to use football to become what they want to become, not to let football use them, right? And that came on the back of a conversation we had last week, Khano, where I don't know if you heard about the story from Michigan, I believe, Michaela?
Yeah.
Or Ohio, Michigan, one of the states, where basically a player scored 16 goals, broke all the state records. And the discussion was whether or not the coach of that team should have apologized, or was this player, were they in their right to score 16?
Yeah. Oh, we also have to say the other team had no goals.
No,
0.
right. Well, they had no goals, but also they had no wins. They were 0-16 in the league.
Yeah.
But what would your thoughts be on a situation like that, Khano, in terms of you being a youth coach and a player, he was 17, probably a senior in school. What are your thoughts on a situation like that?
So at that point, it's, look, 16-0 is obviously a really high score. So you have to look at it, for me, you have to look at it from two perspectives. So if the kid's 16, then he doesn't need to be scoring 16 goals. If it's in high school, he doesn't need to be scoring 16 goals against another 16-year-old. But if you go down to, okay, so say 7 or 8, and say he's got 6 or 7 goals already, like as a child, when is that child ever going to have that moment again? So you have to let the kids enjoy the football and enjoy the game. So if a kid's scoring 6 or 7 goals at this point, okay, like who's benefiting from this? The kid is not benefiting from this. The opponent's not benefiting from this. So at some point, I think when that's happening, the coach is making it about himself, and it's not him or herself. And it's not about the coach. If you're coaching, it's not about me. It's about making these kids better. It's about them enjoying the game. It's about them developing as people. And I had this experience. I was coaching a U10 team one time back in Boston, and the kid said, "Coach, well, this is so fun. You never yell at us." I'm like, well, why would I yell at you? Why are you expecting me to yell at you? And the parents are like, you just sit down and you just let them play. I'm like, yeah, my job is to help them and assist them and maybe have them look at something different. But I think the sad part about a lot of coaches is that they make it about themselves. So maybe that coach who's running up the score, he doesn't have any compassion for anyone else, and he's not thinking about the effect of what that's going to happen. Especially on the opposition. Like if one player scores 16 goals, like after 5 or 6, like he doesn't need to be on the field no more, because he's not developing and no one else around him is developing. So
I love your diplomatic answer, because mine was like, let him run up the score, score all the goals.
It was just like, yeah, let him go for it. But
I would have been like, that's my buy.
And I think at one point, you let him get his 5 or 6 in there, but 16, come on now, like we're being ridiculous, like
we are.
Yeah,
we're running out of time. We have a lot of questions from the audience, but I know Michaela has one more for you as well.
Yes, just the last one. What would your ideal coaching job be? Would that be in MLS, maybe for the New England Revolution, or would it be the top Bermuda job?
Really good question. So the easy answer, I want to coach at the highest level possible for me. So what that is, obviously I'm assistant in a USL team right now, which is obviously 2nd division in the United States. I'm an assistant there. I do have aspirations to lead my own team and my own organization. So I think it'd be pretty cool if I got to be a head coach of a USL team. I do want to work in MLS. That they have now, it's just next level, different level. So be an assistant in MLS at some point, maybe a head coach in MLS someday. That's a dream as well. But then, look, working in Europe and being able to be at a European club, whether that's in England or wherever, and obviously, the pinnacle of European football is to coach in the Champions League. And look, I think that'll be pretty cool. And Jamal, you obviously know Kenny. And Kenny, one Kenny's quotes that stuck with me for a long time, and he talked about us being from Bermuda and us being, a small island in the middle of the ocean. He said, you can never be too small to dream. So wherever I'm going to dream and be wherever I want to dream and coach at, that's the level I want to get to. So wherever the highest level possible is for me, that's where I want to coach.
I like that quote.
I'm gonna put you on the spot. If you were given the opportunity to coach the Bermuda national team today, would you take it?
I think Kyle's done a really good job. So let me be frank about that. Obviously, to take the team and to get them to a Gold Cup, and again, another really proud moment for me watching those guys do that and being here on Fox Sports and seeing it live, and it's just a really, really proud moment for me seeing those guys do that. Listen, at some point in my life, I definitely would love to coach the Bermuda national team. I think that's, again, a dream for every player and every coach. To coach your own national team is an honor, and at some point in my life, I definitely want to experience that and do that, and to see if I can help grow the game domestically in Bermuda. That's not the time right now because I don't think I'm ready. And to push it forward, I don't think I'm at the place to do that right now. But certainly at some point, that's definitely a goal of mine before I'm done with coaching or done with life. I want to coach the Bermuda national team at some point, but I'm not ready at this point.
Indeed. We're going to go through as many questions. Kales, we might go over a bit time.
It's fine. This is such a great combo.
It really is. It really is. We have a lot of people sending love to you. This is a funny one. Bermuda Flavor, good day. I was wondering about him recently and wondered how he was doing. Well, here he is, folks. He's doing pretty well. Khano is. Angeline Butler has a question. Hornets, Hilltoppers. So, Khano, would you say your time at St. John's set any foundation, your football, even coaching eventually? All the best in your endeavors. What role did Dandy Tom play in your, coaching and your career?
I mean, a huge part. It's kind of where I developed the love for the game and the passion for it, and being there and being around it all weekend, spending weekends with my father, and it's just a stone's throw away. The club is from his house, my grandmother's house. So that's that's where I spent my weekends, like growing up. So it's played a huge part in my passion for the game and my development as a young player. And a lot of my best memories, like as a child growing up, was just those Saturdays down at the barn and Sundays down at the barn and watching guys play, and guys like Carlos Smith and Darren Simons and Troy Dorm and Ricky Smith, and all these guys that you kind of grow up wanting to be, and opposition players that you grew up wanting to be like Kyle Lightbone was my guy. Like that was it for me, and as a being left-footed, so he was a guy that I looked up to because he was left-footed. It's all the guys that were obviously really good, but he was the kind of the guy that inspired me. It's like I was starstruck, like when I used to see him, and my dad would introduce me to him, I'm like, holy, you know what I mean? So it's that played a huge part in my development, no doubt about it. And my passion and love for the game came from that place.
Indeed. A question from Sean Smith. He's asking, did you have an agent when you were playing?
Yeah, I did. So I didn't have one when I left. When I left Bermuda, I didn't have one. I negotiated my own contract, and it wasn't really much negotiating. It's kind of like, this is what it is. You take it or you don't. Because they obviously wanted me, but it was obviously, like I said, to separate myself, I had to get my foot in the door first. I wasn't in a position of power to be like, yeah, this is what I want. Which I feel like today is much different for guys that are entering the MLS now. But I did eventually get one when I was in the league, and I think they are kind of useful because obviously agents will have the resources and the phone numbers of general managers and coaches that can get you opportunities. But I think also depending on who you are and what your status is in the game, players, I think a lot of times can pay money to agents that they don't need. They don't need to. You can renegotiate deals yourself, and at the end of the day, you have to give a guy 5 to 10% of your money that you could probably handle yourself. Now, a lot of agents now kind of go to clubs for the agent fees, which is the best way to do. But I do think it's useful to have an agent, and I did have one for a period of time. And I did switch agents, and because I felt like I wasn't getting opportunities. But at the end of the day, that's not the agent's fault. That's the player's fault. Like, it's easy. Nicky Wells doesn't need an agent. He's going to get opportunities no matter what. I'm sure he has one. So sometimes it can be useful, and sometimes I think as players you can do stuff yourself. And you don't need one.
Khano Smith, from former Bermudian International. Honestly, thank you so much again. This man was up 5 a.m. to engage with you all. We didn't get to all the comments and questions, but I'm sorry, folks. I will do my best to encourage Khano to go on our Facebook and YouTube page to engage with you if he has Facebook still. But Khano, thank you, man. Thank you. Honestly, it's been a pleasure. And we'll probably love to have you back to speak even in more depth about the academy side of it. A lot of questions about the U.S. route. I mean, more and more people are sending the children to boarding schools now, and I think Michaela was a perfect example. So thank you for what you're doing and taking the time to actually engage with our audience, and hopefully early in the new year we can have you back.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me on. Enjoyed it. I'm fine. I could get to connect with you guys, and it's enjoyable. So anytime.
Appreciate it. Have a good one.
Thanks, Khano.
All righty, folks. If you enjoyed that conversation, you know what to give. Do give us a thumbs up, a love, a like. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with the Daily Play. It is, folks, if you get it right, you win something. Stick with us.
Same smooth sounds, different name. BCG Radio, home of Bermuda's most engaging morning talk shows, The Daily Hour and Good Day Bermuda. Download the app, available for Android and Apple devices. BCG Radio, your station for conversations and entertainment.
Once again, big thank you to Khano. And for those who don't know, when Khano was coaching at New England Revolution, he actually afforded the opportunities for many young Bermudians to come out there and train with their youth academies and sides. And stuff like that you don't see in the news all the time, you don't see. But he has done a lot to give back to young footballers in Bermuda. So really appreciate Khano for what he's doing. Appreciate him for waking up so early to have it. That Kales, I don't know what you think, but that was one of the best conversations we've had.
Yeah, that was such, I mean, I don't like to, pick favorites, but that was excellent.
Yeah, it was a really great conversation. So thanks again to Khano. And again, I'd love to have him on again in the new year, maybe to speak about the academies more in depth. Thanks again to our sponsors, Medical House, Lindos, One Communications, People's Pharmacy. It's time for the Daily Play, brought to you by Heineken 0.0. Great taste, no alcohol. Folks, it's a name that place. Michaela, are you ready?
Ready.
All right. If you guessed the answer before Michaela, don't forget you win a little something. Here we go. What country produces the most movies in the world?
The most movies? India. Bollywood is wild. It's a machine.
I tell you all, it was easy. I just I have just this thing where I'm like, it's easy, but sometimes, remember, what was it when it was so easy that you got it wrong?
Oh my God. Freaking Old Trafford.
Right. Yes.
I was so mad.
Sometimes I'm like, maybe it's too easy. She's going to miss it. Final thoughts on today's episode, Kales?
I love the conversation today. Read the government contracts. I feel like we always make excuses as to why Bermudians aren't up to scratch, when in reality, we are up to scratch. So we should always get preferential treatment for contracts, etc. Conversation with Khano, such an incredible conversation from his point of view in terms of as a player, how he coaches, his style, his aspirations, and then even his advice that he gave. So I'm going to ensure that Amari watches this. It was refreshingly excellent.
Yeah. And Amari's our oldest son, folks. And I would encourage folks, anyone with children that are aspiring. We see a lot of young people going off to boarding schools, some people going into academies in England. There's the chances of making it pro are slimmer than we make children believe.
Yes.
Folks, Khano said, and the question I should have asked, he did say that he played 6 seasons in the MLS. I'd like to know what the average career length is, because folks, preparing, this is why I keep saying, use football, don't let it use you.
Mm-hmm.
Seriously.
Absolutely. Use football, get a scholarship,
yes,
get your education completely paid for.
Yeah. And again, share this conversation with someone if it could be helpful to them. I appreciate Khano. I appreciate his honesty, his he was very grounded throughout the conversation, but that's how he's been throughout his career. Look, it takes more than just everyone has talent, he said. It takes more than talent. Hills, you got some daily inspiration to send us on our way?
I do. This is another one from Colin Powell. Never receive counsel from unproductive people. Those who never succeed themselves are always first to tell you how.
Wow. Well, drops mic. That's a good one. And yeah. But anyway, thanks again to our partners, Medical House, One Communications, Lindos, and People's Pharmacy for ensuring that we're able to do this with you on a daily basis. As always, we appreciate you, we love you, and we thank you for making us part of your daily routine. If all goes well, we'll be back to do this again with you tomorrow. She's Michaela Ian. I'm Jamal Hartman. My friends, please do make it a great day. Peace.